Hi, I'm Ella Gibson and I'm going to show you how to build arrows from start to finish today. So here to start off with, I set the arrow saw to be the length that I want the arrows to be, and I put a pin in the side that I'm not cutting so that there's a nice smooth surface for the arrow to be able to roll on. Of course, you would normally be getting your arrows cut at a shop, but obviously right now I'm doing them at home. So you just gently spin the arrow without putting too much pressure on the saw, and as you can see, the arrow slowly comes off. So here you can see me squaring the arrows with my G5 squaring tool. To do this, run a permanent marker over the end of the arrow and just lightly roll the arrow over the surface. It's kind of like sandpaper surface. And then keep checking it. And when the pen is gone from the whole circumference, then you know it's nice and square. You'll be able to see at the start that there might be pen on slightly one side and not the other, showing how it was cut at a slight angle, which is perfectly normal. I will do this on both sides of every arrow. So I'm just pinning and pointing all my arrows here. I use the Eastern hot melt and I heat that up a little bit and put some on the pin or the point, making sure there's plenty on. I always think it's better to have too much than not enough. And then I'll just heat that glue up lightly on the pin or point again and then put it into the arrow and kind of turn it as you go. It cools down pretty fast. I'd say you don't want to heat it up too much because you don't want the carbon on the arrow to get too heated from it. And make sure if it hasn't gone in all the way, like you can probably see on some of mine, to just heat up the end of the pin or point and not the carbon to push it in the last little bit. Now that we've glued in all the pins and points, it's time to put on some nocks and do our fletching. I personally always use the Eastern large G-pin nocks, and I use orange because I can just see them easily in the target. But you can use whatever knock you like. It's the time when some people nock tune, although I've personally found that very difficult on bare shafts, so I'm not choosing to do that. But I would probably recommend to put it on the same part of the logo for each knock, so they're all normally turned the same way. It can also be worth shooting an arrow at about a metre away from target, so as close as you can really get without touching the target before you shoot, and putting a little mark on the shaft near the top. Shoot it and then see where the arrow turns, if it's right or left, and that will tell you which way you should be putting the fletchings on. So for example, my arrow rotates left, so I'm going to be putting the fletchings on to carry on with that, so my arrows continue spinning the same way, rather than contradicting it. I'm going to do this for all of these. Now we've put all the nocks on our arrows and discovered which way our arrows turn when they shoot, we're going to fletch them up. So first of all, I'm going to use one of the AE Max Clean Wipes. I just did one arrow and you can see how dirty it gets. I'll show you on another. So I just clean the top where I will be sticking the veins to. It just gets rid of the dirt and the dust that gets me arrows from a factory basically. So you can see right there how dirty that is. So I keep going and I just twist or roll the arrow between my fingers to make sure I get it all. And I'll keep going until the wipe is pretty much clear and clean and there isn't anything coming off. My cat's decided to join in this. So a little bit more and I think this one will be done. There we go. And now it's time to put on our fletching jig. So I use the Bitzenberger fletching jig. So I'm just gonna pop that on. And then you can adjust it so that the arrows go on an angle. So this is the angle I use. You can see. So the veins will sit, I would exaggerate it, like that on the arrow. And I'll lay my fletching out. I use the AE Hybrid 2.0 in purple. Spent about 6 weeks testing veins at the beginning of last year before I decided on this one. It just gave me better performance and I didn't have any issues with anything falling off. So line it up so you can see I mark my jig just to make it easier for the next time. Starting a new glue today. Which funnily enough is also AE. I swear this isn't a complete plug. It's the AE Max Bond. I've had a lot of trouble in the past with fletchings not sticking on my arrows, to the point that I was refletching every single night at an international. It wasn't so fun. But I have yet to have a problem with this glue, so fingers crossed that continues. So I just put a small-ish amount along the arrow. I'm someone that's quite generous with the glue because, well, as I said, I've had issues before, so I like to be safe than sorry. And then just gently press on the arrow. And then I hold it down quite firm for several seconds, waiting for it to bond. And then you can remove the clamp, turn and do your next one. Personally, after I fletch the arrows, I leave them for generally a day or at least overnight, just to fully dry, and just for peace of mind really. But I know the veins do actually dry and attach them very fast. So I think I held that one on for about 20 seconds. My cat's just watching me out in the corner. It's quite cute. And the arrow is done. So then if there's lots of excess, there's quite a bit up here. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm not in the light. There you go, you can see. Then I'll just wipe it away. I normally use a little bit of the white. But then at the bottom I don't always have as much, so I normally just do a little dot of glue on each of the veins just to ensure there's no place that it could lift off. And make sure it's all around the top as well. And then I'll just put that somewhere flat to dry overnight. Thank you for watching. Stay happy and healthy.